Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Defiance. His blue uniform was pressed and perfect. The ship was quiet. Everyone was waiting. "Sir, the alien ship is moving closer," said Officer Bell from his monitor. James nodded. His mouth felt dry. This was humanity's first meeting with aliens. After years of searching the stars, they had finally found other life. The Vex Empire had sent messages a month ago. Today was the big meeting. "All systems ready?" James asked. "Yes, sir. Weapons are off but ready if needed. Shields at full power." The alien ship was huge. It looked like a sharp knife cutting through space. It was 5 times bigger than the Defiance. Its dark metal hull had strange blue lights running along its sides. James touched the small pin on his chest. It held Earth's new flag, a blue circle with all countries together as one. Only the threat of aliens had finally united Earth. Funny how that worked. "They're sending a shuttle, sir," Bell said. "Should be here in 10 minutes. Tell the meeting room to get ready," James ordered. He looked at his team. "Remember, we want peace. We're here to be friends." The Vex ambassador was tall, at least 7 feet. His skin was blue-gray and smooth like metal. He had 4 eyes, all black with no white parts. When he walked into the meeting room with 2 guards, everyone went quiet. "I am Thur, voice of the Vex Empire," he said in perfect English. They had learned it from our TV shows, they said. James stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the Defiance. I'm Captain James Walker of the Earth United Forces." Thur looked around the room with all 4 eyes moving in different directions. "This ship is primitive." James smiled through the insult. "We're still new to space travel. That's why we're excited to meet an advanced civilization like yours. We have much to learn." The meeting started well. James showed videos of Earth, explained human history, and shared information about their science and art. Thur watched without much interest. When James finished, Thur stood up. He was so tall that his head almost touched the ceiling. "Your species is young," Thur said. "You have barely left your planet. The Vex Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years." He made a sound like metal grinding. It took James a moment to realize it was laughter. "We have found your planet has many valuable metals and minerals," Thur continued. "You will serve as a mining colony for the Empire. Your people will work for us. This is a great honor." The room went silent. James felt his heart beat faster. "I think there's been a mistake," he said carefully. "We're looking for friendly relations, trade, cultural exchange, not servitude." Thur's 4 eyes blinked at different times. "There is no mistake. Your species is weak. Your technology is simple. You will serve or you will die. The Empire has spoken." Before James could answer, Officer Bell ran into the room. "Sir, hundreds of ships just appeared around Earth. They came out of nowhere." James looked at Thur, who seemed pleased. "This meeting is over," James said. "Return to your ship. Think carefully about your next move, human," Thur said. "Resistance would be unwise." "How bad is it?" Admiral Emily Garcia asked. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, her face lined with worry. The hologram in the center of Earth's Defense Command showed the situation. Hundreds of Vex ships surrounded Earth. Earth's defense fleet had only 12 ships. "They have us completely surrounded," James reported. "Their weapons are locked on our major cities." Emily looked at the map for a long time. "Order all ships to pull back to the moon base. We can't win this fight." But it was too late. 3 Earth ships exploded before they could retreat. The rest, including the Defiance, barely escaped to the moon. The United Council room was packed. Leaders from all countries sat around a large table. Screens on the walls showed the Vex ships above Earth. "They've sent their demands," said President Roberto. "We have 1 week to agree to become their mining colony, or they start destroying cities." The room filled with angry voices. General Thomas Reed, a tall man with dark skin and gray hair at his temples, stood up. The room went quiet. Tom had led Earth's armies for 15 years. When he spoke, people listened. "They think we're weak," he said, his deep voice filling the room. "They think because we haven't been fighting wars in space for thousands of years that we don't know how to fight." He looked around the room. "But what do humans know better than anything else? War." He walked to the hologram map. "Humans have been fighting each other since we first picked up rocks as weapons. We've fought with sticks, swords, guns, bombs. We've fought on land, sea, air. No species in the galaxy knows war like we do. But their technology," someone started, "is better, yes," Tom agreed, "for now. But they expect us to fight the way they do. That's where they're wrong." "What are you suggesting?" President Roberto asked. "We make them think we're giving up," Tom said. "We negotiate. Ask for better terms. Buy time. Meanwhile, we prepare." "Prepare how? We can't build a fleet in a week," Emily said. "We don't fight their way," Tom answered. "We fight our way." Humans have always been good at one thing when backed into a corner: finding a new way to win. James felt something he hadn't felt since the Vex ships appeared: hope. "We need a secret project," Tom continued. "Something they won't expect. They think they know everything about us from our broadcasts and internet. Let's show them how wrong they are." President Roberto nodded slowly. "What do we tell the public?" "The truth," Tom said. "That we're facing our greatest challenge. That the road ahead is hard. But also this: Earth will not surrender. Not today. Not ever." The Vex ultimatum arrived an hour later. The message was simple: submit or die. Earth sent back its official response: "We wish to discuss terms." But in secret, humanity made its real choice: not surrender, not death. Something the Vex never considered: innovation. As night fell over Earth, lights burned late in labs and military bases around the world. The clock was ticking. 1 week to find a way to fight back against an enemy that had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. The Vex thought humans were weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, far from any city, a secret base hummed with activity. The entrance looked like an old mining site. Signs warned people to stay away because of danger. But the real danger was what would happen if the work inside failed. Dr. Lisa Miller walked through the busy underground halls of Project Phoenix. She had dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night since the Vex ships arrived 2 weeks ago. No one here had. "How's the testing going?" she asked as she entered the main lab. Mark Thompson looked up from a workbench. His hands were covered in black grease, and his red beard was messy. Before the aliens came, he had been a mining engineer. Now he was building weapons. "Better," he said, holding up a small silver cylinder about the size of a soda can. "This one didn't explode when we turned it on." Lisa tried to smile. "That's progress." 50 of Earth's best scientists and engineers worked in this hidden base. They all knew that the fate of humanity might depend on what they created here. On the surface, Earth's leaders were still negotiating with the Vex. They had managed to extend the 1-week deadline to a month. The Vex thought humans were just delaying the inevitable. They didn't know about Project Phoenix. In a concrete room deep in the facility, General Tom Reed watched through thick glass as the team tested the new device. The silver cylinder sat on a metal table. 20 feet away, behind another glass wall, was a piece of Vex technology. A shield generator taken from a small scout ship that humans had managed to capture. "Start the test," Lisa ordered. A scientist pressed a button. The Vex shield activated, a shimmering blue wall of energy that could stop bullets, bombs, even nuclear blasts. Mark took a deep breath and activated the silver cylinder. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the cylinder disappeared. It reappeared inside the shield, bypassing it completely. "It worked," Mark shouted, jumping up. Tom leaned forward. "Explain it to me again." "In simple terms." Lisa nodded. The Vex use advanced shields to protect their ships. Nothing can get through those shields. Not our weapons, not even people. But this device doesn't try to break through the shield. It goes around it, Mark added. Not around in space, but around in reality. Lisa tried to find words for complex science. We've developed quantum entanglement technology. It creates a link between 2 points in space. The device disappears from one point and appears at another. The shield doesn't matter because the device never passes through it. Tom nodded slowly. And once it's inside their ships. Mark grinned. Boom. The device creates a powerful electromagnetic pulse. Lisa explained. It fries all electronics within 50 feet. A ship hit with this would be dead in space. Tom walked closer to the glass. How many can you make? And how soon? That's the best part, Mark said. We've simplified the design. We can make hundreds in a week, thousands in a month. For the first time since the Vex arrived, Tom smiled. The Vex think we're going to fight them with our regular weapons. Missiles, lasers, bombs. They've built defenses against all of that. But they've never seen anything like this, Lisa said. When can we deploy the first batch? Tom asked. 3 days, Mark answered. We're calling them quantum disruptors. Tom nodded. 3 days. Good, because the Vex governor is arriving in 4. On the surface, things looked bad for Earth. The Vex had begun their occupation, landing ships in major cities around the world. Humans were ordered to continue normal life, but to prepare for resource extraction duties. The Vex governor, a tall blue-skinned alien named Pell, landed his ship in what used to be Central Park in New York City. Humans watched from behind barriers as the aliens built their headquarters. Look at them, Captain James Walker said, watching the scene from a nearby rooftop. He wore civilian clothes now, not his uniform. They think they've won. Admiral Emily Garcia stood beside him. For now, let them think that. James looked at the small backpack at his feet. Inside were 5 of the new quantum disruptors. These really work. They worked in tests, Emily said. We'll find out for sure tomorrow. James looked at his watch. The governor is giving his big speech in 24 hours. All Vex ships will be in position above major cities to show their power. Emily nodded. And that's when we strike. Operation Thunderclap. My team is ready, James said. We have agents in place near every major Vex facility. They all have disruptors. Remember, this has to be coordinated, Emily warned. Every team hits their target at exactly the same time. The Vex can't have any warning. James picked up the backpack carefully. What about our remaining ships? Hidden behind Jupiter's moons, Emily said. Once the Vex ships are disabled, our fleet will attack. And if this doesn't work, James asked quietly. Emily looked out at the alien ships hovering over the city. Then humanity becomes a footnote in Vex history books. The next day, Governor Pell stood on a platform in front of his new headquarters. Thousands of humans were forced to attend his speech. Millions more watched on TV. Vex soldiers with strange weapons stood guard everywhere. People of Earth, Pell began, his voice translated through speakers. Today marks the beginning of your new purpose. The Vex Empire welcomes you as its newest resource world. As he spoke, 2 blocks away, James and his team moved into position near a Vex communication center. Similar teams were in place around the world. Your existence now has meaning, Pell continued. You will serve the Empire. Your minerals will strengthen our fleets. Your labor will show your gratitude for our mercy. James checked his watch. 5 minutes until Thunderclap. In orbit, the Vex flagship, the Eternal Dominion, hung above New York. Commander Thur stood on its bridge, watching the speech on a screen. The humans are accepting their fate better than expected, an officer reported. Thur made that strange grinding sound that was Vex laughter. They are weak. They know they cannot fight us. On Earth, James looked at his watch again. 1 minute. In her underground command center, Admiral Emily gave the order. Commence Operation Thunderclap. Across the world, human agents activated their quantum disruptors. In space, small silver cylinders suddenly appeared inside Vex ships, bypassing their powerful shields as if they weren't there. The first flash of light came from the Eternal Dominion, then another, then dozens more as Vex ships lost power across Earth's orbit. On the ground, Governor Pell stopped mid-speech as his communication device went dead. The lights in all Vex buildings suddenly went out. From behind Jupiter's moons, Earth's remaining fleet emerged, weapons ready. Captain Walker's voice broadcast across all frequencies. This is humanity's answer to your ultimatum. The battle for Earth had begun. Commander Thur stood on the bridge of the Vex flagship Eternal Dominion. The massive ship hung in space above what humans called New York City, but what Vex maps now labeled as Administrative Region 1. Through the large viewing window, he watched human workers loading minerals onto transport ships. Status report on mining operations, Thur ordered. He was pleased. The humans had put up less resistance than expected. Their leaders had tried to negotiate better terms, but in the end, they had accepted their place, just as all species did when facing the Vex Empire. His lieutenant began to answer when a sharp alarm suddenly blared across the ship. Red lights flashed on control panels. "What is happening?" Thur demanded. The lieutenant looked confused. "I don't." He never finished his sentence. Throughout the massive warship, small silver cylinders appeared out of nowhere. One moment there was nothing. The next the devices were there, inside the ship, past all their shields. Each cylinder glowed bright blue for a second, then released a powerful pulse of energy. Screens went black. Lights died. Weapons systems failed. "Emergency power," Thur shouted, but nothing happened. The mighty warship, pride of the Vex fleet, was dead in space. On Earth, behind Jupiter's moons, and in hidden bases around the solar system, humanity launched its counterattack. Earth's remaining ships, which had been hiding since the invasion began, suddenly appeared. They had been modified with the new quantum disruptor technology. Captain James Walker sat in the command chair of the Freedom, a small but fast attack ship. On his screen, he could see the Vex vessels drifting powerless. "All ships, this is Captain Walker," he said into his communication system. "Target Vex vessels and fire at will. Remember, hit their engine rooms first." Across all frequencies, human ships broadcast the same message. This is humanity's answer to your ultimatum. The Vex had never faced a serious challenge in centuries. Their commanders were trained to follow a strict chain of command. But with their flagship disabled and communications down, that chain was broken. Many Vex ships simply waited for orders that would never come. In his underground command center, General Tom Reed watched the battle unfold on large screens. The room was tense and quiet except for the occasional update from officers. "Vex flagship Eternal Dominion completely disabled, sir. Lunar Defense Station has fallen. Our forces are securing it now. 34 Vex vessels destroyed, 52 disabled and being boarded." Tom nodded at each report. The plan was working better than they had hoped. The quantum disruptors had caught the Vex completely off guard. Admiral Emily Garcia entered the room. "They never expected this," she said, looking at the screens. "They thought we would use conventional weapons, missiles, lasers. They prepared for that." "The best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know exists," Tom replied. On one screen, he could see human soldiers boarding a disabled Vex cruiser. The alien crew was surrendering without much fight. Vex soldiers were trained to follow orders, not to think for themselves. Without their commanders, they seemed lost. "What's the status on the ground?" Tom asked. "Just as good," Emily said. "The quantum disruptors knocked out all their bases. Governor Pell was captured trying to reach his shuttle. Most Vex ground forces have surrendered." Tom allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. On the captured Vex flagship, Lisa Miller and her team moved quickly through the alien corridors. The ship was huge, with ceilings twice as high as human ships to accommodate the tall Vex. "This way," Mark Thompson said, checking a small device in his hand. "The engine room should be down this hall." They passed Vex crew members who had been secured by human soldiers. The aliens sat quietly, their four eyes blinking in different patterns. Without orders, they seemed to have no idea what to do. The engine room was massive. Strange machines hummed with energy even though most of the ship was powerless. "Look at this technology," Lisa whispered in awe. "Their power systems are decades ahead of ours." Mark was already connecting a small computer to one of the Vex control panels. "If we can understand how this works, we can adapt it to our ships." Lisa nodded. "We don't have much time. Download everything you can." Similar scenes were playing out on captured Vex vessels throughout the solar system. Humanity had realized that they couldn't just fight the Vex. They needed to learn from them, to take their technology and improve it. 3 days after Operation Thunderclap began, Tom Reed addressed the United Council. "In 72 hours, we have destroyed or captured 30% of the Vex occupation fleet," he reported. "We've taken control of all their ground bases. Their leadership structure has collapsed." The room erupted in cheers. For the first time since the Vex arrived, there was real hope. President Roberto raised his hands for quiet. "What about Governor Pell?" "In custody," Tom said, "and willing to talk. The Vex don't handle defeat well. They have no experience with it." "And Commander Thur, still on his ship, which we now control. He refuses to surrender personally, but his crew has abandoned him. It's only a matter of time." Roberto looked around the room. "This is a great victory, but we must be realistic. The Vex Empire is vast. We've defeated only a small part of their forces." Tom nodded. "True. Governor Pell has already sent an emergency message to the Empire. We let that transmission through on purpose. We want them to know what happened." "Why?" someone asked. "Because when they send reinforcements, and they will, we want them to be afraid," Tom said. "Fear makes enemies make mistakes." In his cell, Governor Pell sat perfectly still, all four eyes fixed on the wall. He had sent his message to the Empire. "We have gravely miscalculated. Request immediate reinforcements." What he hadn't told his superiors was how the humans had defeated them. Let them come unprepared, just as his forces had been. The humans had a saying he had learned: "Pride comes before a fall." The Vex had been proud. Now they were falling. Aboard the Freedom, James Walker looked at the alien device his team had recovered from a Vex weapon storage. It was small and round with strange markings. "What do you think it is?" his second-in-command asked. "I don't know," James said, "but I bet our scientists can figure it out, and maybe make it better." That was the difference between humans and the Vex, he thought. The Vex relied on their technology, but didn't push its limits. Humans took technology and reimagined it, improved it, combined it in ways its creators never considered. On his screen, he could see the disabled Vex flagship drifting against the backdrop of Earth. The mighty vessel that had once threatened their world was now just a floating piece of metal. "Send a message to all ships," James ordered. "Phase 1 complete. Prepare for Phase 2. The real war was just beginning." 6 months passed after humanity's surprise attack. 6 months of preparing, building, and waiting. Everyone knew the Vex Empire would respond. An empire that spanned hundreds of star systems would not accept defeat from a species they considered primitive. James Walker, now promoted to admiral, stood on the bridge of the Defiance. The ship had been rebuilt with Vex technology they had captured. It was faster and stronger than before. "Any sign of them?" he asked. Officer Bell, who had stayed with him from the beginning, checked his screen. "Nothing yet, sir. But our long-range sensors can only see so far." James nodded. The waiting was the hardest part. Earth had used these 6 months well. They had built more ships, created more weapons, and spread defenses throughout the solar system. But would it be enough? The answer came at dawn the next day. "Admiral," Bell shouted, multiple ships appearing near Jupiter. James rushed to the bridge. The screen showed dots appearing one after another. Not dozens of ships. Not hundreds. Thousands. The Imperial fleet had arrived. In her command center on Earth, Admiral Emily Garcia watched the enemy ships appear one after another. The room was silent except for the constant beep of sensors detecting new vessels. "There are too many," her tactical officer whispered. Emily's face showed no fear, but inside her stomach twisted. The Vex had sent more ships than they had expected. Far more. "Numbers aren't everything," she replied calmly. "Execute Operation Hornet's Nest." For the past 6 months, human ships had been busy throughout the solar system. What looked like mining operations on asteroids and moons were actually manufacturing facilities. They weren't mining for metals, they were building quantum disruptors. Millions of them. As the Imperial fleet moved into attack formation around Jupiter, these hidden bases activated. Thousands of automated launchers aimed at the Vex armada. On the Vex command ship, Admiral Zur stood tall and confident. He had brought enough firepower to destroy Earth 10 times over. "The humans think they can stand against the Empire," he told his officers. "We will show them the price of defiance." His tactical officer approached. "Sir, we're detecting small objects moving toward our fleet." "Missiles?" Zur asked, unconcerned. Human weapons could not penetrate Vex shields. "No, sir. They're too small. And there are thousands of them." Zur felt the first hint of worry. Raise all shields to maximum power. But shields didn't matter against quantum disruptors. The small devices appeared inside the Vex ships, bypassing their defenses completely. This time, the disruptors weren't aimed at control systems, but at something more dangerous: fuel reserves. On Earth, people looked up at the night sky and gasped. Bright flashes lit up the darkness like new stars being born. But these weren't stars. They were Vex ships exploding. The coordinated detonation created a chain reaction. As one ship's fuel exploded, it damaged nearby vessels. Those ships then exploded themselves, causing even more damage. In less than an hour, the mighty Imperial fleet was in chaos. Admiral Zur managed to withdraw with about 1/3 of his fleet intact. The rest were destroyed or so badly damaged they could not fight. For the first time in anyone's memory, the Vex Imperial Council declared a strategic retreat. Not a temporary withdrawal, not a tactical repositioning, a retreat. In the command center, General Tom Reed received an important message from Intelligence Officer David Russell. "Sir, we intercepted a Vex transmission," David reported. "It took some time to translate it correctly. I think you'll want to see this." Tom read the translation and smiled. "The humans don't fight like a civilized species," it said. "They fight like cornered animals." Tom looked up at David. "Send a message back. Tell them we're just getting started." The celebration on Earth was huge. People filled the streets, cheering and singing. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and had not only survived but won. But in a quiet room in the United Council building, the mood was more serious. James Walker, Emily Garcia, Tom Reed, Lisa Miller, and President Roberto sat around a table looking at reports. "This was a great victory," Roberto said. "But the war isn't over." Tom nodded. "The Vex Empire is still out there. They'll be back. But they'll be more careful next time," Lisa added. "They won't underestimate us again." "Good," James said, "because now we're going to take the fight to them." Emily looked surprised. "To their territory. We barely have enough ships to defend our own system." James smiled. "That's where our new project comes in." "Lisa, tell them." Lisa pulled up images on a screen. It showed a massive ship under construction in orbit around Mars. "This is the Retribution," she explained. "It's twice the size of our largest current vessel. It uses a combination of human innovation and Vex technology we've captured." Tom studied the images. "How long until it's ready?" 3 months, Lisa answered. We've been building it in sections and hiding the parts in the asteroid belt. The Vex never noticed. And what makes it special? Roberto asked. Mark Thompson, who had just entered the room, answered that question. It can create its own jump points. Everyone stared at him. Jump points? Emily asked. Like the ones the Vex used to travel between star systems, Mark explained. We figured out how their faster-than-light travel works. The Retribution won't just be able to defend our system. It can take the fight directly to Vex worlds. The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. So we have a choice, Roberto said finally. We can fortify our system and prepare for the next Vex attack. Or we can take the offensive. Tom didn't hesitate. We attack. The Vex came to our home and threatened our existence. Now we bring the fight to them. James nodded in agreement. They thought we were weak. They thought they could conquer us easily. Now they know better. But there's one more lesson they need to learn. What's that? Roberto asked. Never threaten humanity, James said, unless you're prepared for the consequences. The meeting ended with a decision. In 3 months, when the Retribution was ready, humanity would take its first steps beyond the solar system. Not as explorers, but as warriors, bringing a simple message to the Vex Empire. The species they had underestimated was coming for them, and their fleets would burn. 1 year had passed since the Vex ships first appeared above Earth. In that year, everything had changed. Humanity had gone from a species confined to one solar system to a force that made a galactic empire tremble. Admiral James Walker stood on the bridge of the Retribution, Earth's newest and largest warship. It was twice the size of his old ship, the Defiance, and built with a combination of human ingenuity and Vex technology. The bridge was quiet as the crew prepared for their most ambitious mission yet. They were positioned at the edge of human space, ready to make the jump into Vex territory. All systems ready, sir, reported Officer Bell, who had been with James from the beginning. James nodded. He looked at the large view screen showing the 20 other ships in his fleet. Not a large force compared to what the Vex could gather, but these ships had something the Vex didn't. Humans who could adapt and innovate. Send the message to Earth, James ordered. Operation Spearhead is commencing. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Emily Garcia received the message. She turned to General Tom Reed and President Roberto. They're ready, she said. Tom looked at the star map showing the planned attack route. We could have stayed in our own system, he said quietly. Built defenses, prepared for the next Vex attack. That's not who we are, Roberto replied. The Vex came to our home and threatened our existence. Now we take the fight to them. Emily nodded. Send the authorization code. And may they come home safely. On the Retribution, James received the code. All ships prepare for jump. Target. Vex border outpost in the Proxima system. The new jump drive hummed to life. Based on captured Vex technology, but improved by human engineers, it allowed ships to create paths through space that shortened the journey between stars from years to minutes. A blue-white tunnel of energy appeared in front of the fleet. One by one, the ships entered. The journey to Vex space had begun. The Vex outpost in the Proxima system was unprepared for attack. For centuries, no species had dared to challenge the Empire's borders. The defenders watched in shock as 20 human ships appeared from jump points directly above their main base. This is Admiral James Walker of Earth. James broadcast on all frequencies. Surrender your outpost or face destruction. The Vex commander's reply was defiant. The Empire does not surrender to primitives. Have it your way, James said. All ships deploy quantum disruptors. The battle was short. The Vex had improved their defenses against the disruptors, but humans had improved their weapons too. In less than an hour, the outpost was under human control. As his team secured the base and downloaded its information, James looked at the star charts they had captured. The Vex Empire was vast, spanning hundreds of systems. But it was also spread thin, with many outposts as poorly defended as this one. "Send the data back to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them the path is clear for Phase 2. On the Vex homeworld, a planet called Vexor, the Imperial Council gathered in emergency session. Emperor Zal, leader of the Vex for over 200 years, looked at the reports with all four of his eyes. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "These humans were confined to their planet just 1 year ago. Now they attack our borders." Admiral Zur, who had barely escaped the disaster at Earth, stepped forward. "They learn quickly, Your Majesty. They take our technology and improve it in ways we never considered. And they fight." Another council member began. "Like animals," Zur finished. "They do not follow the rules of civilized warfare. They use trickery and surprise instead of honorable direct confrontation." Emperor Zal was silent for a long moment. In his 2 centuries of rule, the Empire had never faced a serious threat. The Vex had conquered dozens of species, all of whom eventually accepted their place in the Empire's hierarchy. But the humans were different. They refused to accept defeat. They fought back with whatever they had. And somehow, they were winning. "We must gather all our forces," Zal finally said. "Every ship, every soldier. We will crush these humans once and for all." But even as he gave the order, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered a dangerous thought. What if we can't? Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Miller and Mark Thompson worked with a team of scientists studying Vex technology. The lab was filled with alien devices taken from captured ships and bases. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to a screen. "The Vex have had faster-than-light travel for thousands of years, but they haven't improved it. The design is exactly the same as in their oldest records." Mark nodded. "They don't innovate. They perfect something and then never change it." That was the key difference between humans and the Vex. The Vex had advanced technology, but they had stopped pushing its limits centuries ago. Humans, in contrast, constantly reimagined, improved, and combined technologies in ways their creators never considered. In just 1 year, humans had taken Vex jump drive technology and made it 30% more efficient. They had improved Vex weapons systems, shield generators, and communication networks. They had even begun developing technology the Vex had never conceived of. "The new prototype is ready for testing," Mark said, leading Lisa to another part of the lab. He pointed to a small device on a table. "If this works, it could change everything." As reports came in of human fleets advancing through their territory, systematically dismantling their defenses with technologies the Vex couldn't counter, Emperor Zal made a decision that would have been unthinkable a year ago. "Send the message," he ordered. "We seek terms." On the Retribution, James received the transmission with surprise. The Vex Empire, which had threatened to enslave humanity, was now asking for peace talks. He immediately sent the message to Earth. Hours later, the response came from President Roberto and the United Council. "We accept their invitation to negotiate, but from a position of strength, not weakness." At Earth's United Council, the leaders gathered to discuss the Vex offer. The mood was cautious but optimistic. "They came to conquer us because they thought we were weak," General Tom Reed said. "They're negotiating now because they've learned the truth. Humanity doesn't break. We adapt, we overcome, and when threatened, we fight back with everything we have." President Roberto nodded. "We will accept their offer of peace talks, but we will not return to the way things were before. The age of human expansion begins today." Across the stars, the remnants of the once mighty Vex fleet drifted powerless, a testament to the fatal mistake they had made. They had underestimated humanity, and now their fleets were burning. 1 month later, James Walker stood in the great hall of the Vex Imperial Palace. Emperor Zal sat on a high throne, looking down at the human delegation. "Your species has proven itself formidable," the Emperor said. "The Empire offers you a place as equals, not subjects." James thought of all humanity had endured and achieved in the past year. They had gone from nearly being enslaved to forcing a galactic empire to the negotiating table. "Humanity does not seek conquest," James replied. "But we will never accept chains. We offer peace based on mutual respect and the right of all species to determine their own future." As the peace treaty was signed, James looked out the palace windows at the stars beyond. Just 1 year ago, those stars had seemed impossibly far away. Now they were the beginning of humanity's new frontier. The Vex had thought humans were weak because they had not yet reached for the stars. They had learned their mistake, and the universe would never be the same. The end.